Hi everybody, the Home Service Pro here. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to fix a loose rocking toilet. The customer called and complained that the toilet is rocking and sometimes they get water on the floor when they flush the toilet. We'll get this toilet pulled and see what's going on. Let's get right after it. Okay, so this is the toilet that we're going to be working on. The first thing we got to do is we got to shut the water off to the toilet. So the shut off is back here behind the toilet. We're going to go ahead and shut this all the way off. There we go. So now that the water is shut off to the toilet, we're going to go ahead and flush the toilet by holding the handle down until the water quits going into the toilet. There we go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the lid, and I'm just going to set that aside for now. We want to make sure that the tank is as empty as we can possibly get it. You can see we have no water in there at all. So then the next thing we got to do is disconnect the water supply line from the toilet. You can see it on the back corner there. I'm just going to loosen that up, pull that off, get that out of our way. Might get a little bit of water on the floor as you disconnect that, just because the line has water in it. So now that's disconnected. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you this cool product. It's called Liquid Lock. You can pick this up at your local hardware. It's called Liquid Lock. What this does is it takes the water that's in the bowl and turns it into a solid. So when we lift this toilet up, water doesn't end up on the floor. And it's as simple as you just open the package up and you dump it in. And in a few minutes, that's going to turn into a gel. That way the water is a solid instead of a liquid, so it does not spill out. We'll give that just a few minutes to do its thing, and then we'll go ahead and we're going to loosen up the Johnny bolts, and we're going to lift the toilet right up off the flange and set it aside for now so we can see what's going on under there. So we'll give this a few minutes and we'll be right back. All right, guys, so we got that liquid lock in there, and as you can see, that liquid has turned completely into a solid. I'm going to put a glove on here so I can kind of show you what it looks like. If I can just go like this, and you can just see that that water is now completely a solid. So now we don't have to worry about that toilet leaking out on us when we pick this toilet up off the floor. All right, so now that we got the water all locked up like that, I'm going to go ahead and close the lid. The next thing we're going to do is we got to remove the Johnny bolts, which we have one here and one on the other side. And as you can see, that Johnny bolt is completely loose. And when I pull it, I can pull it all the way up and down, which tells me it's not attached to the flange at all. So I'm not sure if the flange is broke, if the Johnny bolts just came off, but we're going to go ahead and loosen the nut up, take the nut off, and remove the washers and the cap washer. So when we get this pulled, we can go ahead and remove all of that. I'm going to do the same exact thing on the other side. And this side is doing exactly that same thing where I can just lift it all the way up. It's not attached to the flange at all. So we just got to figure out why it's not attached to the flange. So next I'm going to go ahead and lift the toilet up. I'm going to go ahead and move the toilet over. And I'm going to set it right inside the tub just so it's out of our way so we can get right in here and see what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and lift the tub over, or the toilet over into the tub. There we go. So as you can tell, this has been leaking for quite a while because we got the nasty toilet water that's kind of underneath the toilet. It's been getting down in between the flange and that. So in these Johnny bolts, as you can see, they're not even attached at all. So we're going to go ahead and get this wax all cleaned up and clean this floor up, and we'll be right back. Okay, so as you can see, I got this area all cleaned up. I just used some bleach wipes on it and cleaned up a good part of the wax. As you can see, somebody went pretty crazy with the screws here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 screws in that flange. It looks like somebody has tiled the floor, and when they did that, they added the flange extension, and obviously they didn't get it to bite into anything, so they just kept adding screws to try and hold it together. Over here, you can see right here is where the Johnny bolt was locked in. That flange is broke right off right there. On the other side, you can see the same thing. The flange actually physically broke right there as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to get all these screws removed, see if we can get this flange extension off, and we'll put a whole new system in here and make sure that that's very secured down to the floor. So I'm going to get my screw gun here, and we'll go ahead and start removing some of these screws. See if it's a flange extension or just a flange. All right, so this is just a flange. There is no flange extension. You can see how it's just a toilet flange there. Looks like a good part of the wood underneath there is kind of rotted. So I'll go ahead and let the homeowner know that they probably should get a carpenter in here and repair the floor. Just getting the rest of this wax out of our way. And then I'm going to see if I can get these bolts pulled up out of there. Okay, guys, so I did go down in the basement. We have a good solid floor all the way down through. We just have to use the proper screws for this. They did not use the right screws for it to begin with. They were too short, so they pulled through the holes. So we just got to get some longer screws in there. So we're going to go ahead and extend that toilet flange up to where it's flush with the top of the tile using one of these kits here. In that kit, it comes with a expansion flange and a rubber gasket. And I always use a stainless steel ring because the stainless steel allows it to where the Johnny bolts are not going to pull through this like they did with that old flange, how it broke these wings here off. Because this is steel, this is stainless steel. That's not going to happen again when I'm done. So let's go ahead and get these put in. The first thing you're going to do is on top of the existing flange that's there, we're going to go ahead and put a bead of silicone all the way around that. So the new expansion flange will go ahead and sit on that silicone and seal it. So we're just going to put a good bead of silicone all the way around here, just like that. Then we're going to go ahead and put our spacer plate in. Just like that. I'm going to take this extra silicone you see here. I'm going to go ahead and just spread it around on the inside of this because that's just sealing it to that pipe better. There we go. Then we're going to go ahead and put a couple of screws right down into that to lock that guy into place. There we go. That's good and locked in now. Now, as you can see, we've got just a little bit of a gap from the top of the tile to the top of the spacer plate. However, our stainless steel ring will make up that difference. And now we're pretty much flush. Once I get that all down in there, that'll be pretty much flush with the top of the tile when we're all done. So when we get that all set, that's what we want to do is we want to be flush with the top of the tile. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple more screws in here, just load these down a little bit more, just so we know that that flange isn't going to go anywhere. Okay, now that we have the flange secure, we're going to go ahead and add our rubber gasket. We're going to set that right over top of our spacer plate that we already have in, just like that. Now when we put our steel plate down, the steel plate, that rubber is going to make our seal down to the plastic gasket. So we're going to go ahead and get this plate put into position. Now remember, when you're putting the plate down for the Johnny bolts, you want to make sure that your Johnny bolt hole, when this is your center line of the flange square to the wall, we want to make sure that your Johnny bolts are sitting back. You don't want these Johnny bolts to be like way up in here. You want these to be back in here. So you want this center line across here to be back in your pocket like this. So your Johnny bolts have something to pull on, because when you tighten your toilet down, this is pulling down or lifting up on this flange as you run the bolts down. It's going to pull this all together. So you want this to be way back in here like this, not out here, because it's going to go ahead and pop out of that hole right here where the Johnny bolts go in. So we'll go ahead and get some screws going in this. And one last screw. And there we go. That guy is completely secure. It's not going to move around on us. So we'll go ahead and get the rest of the parts. We'll get the wax ring and the Johnny bolts, and we'll get the toilet ready to be reset. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so these are the Johnny bolts that we're going to be using. I do like using the 5/16 Johnny bolts because the 5/16 are a little bit thicker, a little bit stronger. I'm all about that. So I'll go ahead and get these opened up. And that's what all comes with these Johnny bolts. Go ahead and get that washer off from there. All right, so these little plastic clips here, what you do is you put those on the Johnny bolts. Let me just get that started. As you can see there, let me get it over here so you can see a little bit better. So what that does is when we get this set in here, I'm going to go ahead and get this slid over, and you push that down tight, and that just keeps your Johnny bolt standing straight up. So when we set our toilet down on here, that guy's facing straight up like that for us. I'll go ahead and get this other one ready. Just like that. We want to make sure that that's centered up on our flange. We're good and straight there. So now we're going to go ahead and set our wax ring. So I like using the horned wax rings. It's got this little horn here. It helps everything stay lined up there. So when we line that up just like that, we know that we're centered in our hole, so we have good flow straight down into the drain pipe. And we know that that's not going to move around for us when we set the toilet back on there. So we are prepped and ready to go as far as setting the toilet back down on there. So I'll go ahead and grab that toilet and we'll get that set back down on the wax ring. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the toilet here. We'll lift it up out of the tub. And then how I have a hold of this toilet, it's nice because I can look right down at my Johnny bolt holes and look right down on my Johnny bolts and make sure I have everything lined up as I set that down on there to make sure my Johnny bolts are lined up. So it'll drop right down on my flange, just like that. And I'm just going to wobble this down and push down. Now my toilet flange, or my wax ring, has been squashed down. I've got a good seal there. We're going to go ahead and get our bolts and washers started down in here. These are the caps. Oops. The caps for the trim caps for the toilet. This goes on first, and if you notice, there's a little lip in here. The lip, just like I have that sitting there, the angled side goes up, just like this. So you set that down on there. We're going to go ahead and bring in a washer. And then a nut. Go ahead and tighten that nut down by hand all the way down. Just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I got my trim ring on there, washer, then the nut. All right, just like that. Now I'm going to lose these rubber gloves. And then I'm going to get a wrench, and we're going to go ahead and snug those down. I just use an adjustable wrench on those. You can use an open end wrench, whatever you'd like. So we're going to go ahead and tighten these up. And you'll feel when it starts getting tight. And once it starts getting tight, you don't want to over tighten these, but you want these to be fairly tight to where this toilet doesn't wobble around after we have these tightened down. If you go too tight, you can actually break the porcelain because these Johnny bolts are pretty strong. And I'm going to say that's probably pretty good right there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually just get on the front of the toilet here. And that toilet, before that toilet would slide right around, and now it's not moving at all. So we know that we're set good and tight. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and prep the toilet and get ready, and we're going to go ahead and caulk the toilet in and get a good seal around that. By code in our state, we have to go ahead and seal that in. So we'll go ahead and caulk that in. So I'll be right back. All right, so now we got the toilet. It's all nice and tight, not wobbling around. I'm going to go ahead and hook the supply line back up to the toilet. You just need to get this hand tight. There we go. We're going to go ahead and turn the water back onto the toilet. We'll let that toilet fill up. After the toilet is filled up, we're going to go ahead and flush this. And you remember how we put the liquid or the leak lock down in there, the water lock. As water gets back in here, you can see the water coming back in. It might take a little bit, but what this does is when water gets back onto it, it turns back into a liquid, and we can just flush it right down the toilet. So we just got to wait for the toilet to completely fill, and we'll give this a flush. We may have to stir it up just a little bit to get it to loosen up to go down. You can kind of see back here how this is starting to turn back into a liquid. It's no longer a solid. That's because that water is getting in there and loosening it up. All right, so the toilet's full, so I'm going to go ahead and flush it. It's going to act like it's going to back up a little bit, but it should loosen up and go right down. We'll give that a second, and there it goes. And then we'll go ahead and let that fill back up and flush it one more time, and we should be in good shape. All right, there we go. We'll go ahead and give it another flush and see how she flushes. Just like it's supposed to. We'll go ahead and put this back down. Make sure we're still good and solid. It hasn't moved. Now you want to look around the base of the toilet and just make sure we don't have any water coming out around the base of the toilet while we're flushing that toilet. And if we're not getting water coming out there, we know that we got a good seal on the wax ring. We'll go ahead and flush it one more time, and then we're going to go ahead and silicone the base of the toilet in. I'll show you a really cool hack that I learned a while back for dealing with silicone instead of caulk. Silicone will last a lot longer. It stays pliable, and it looks a lot nicer. So as soon as we get this flushed a couple more times, we'll go ahead and flush it one more time. And everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and get the stuff around so we can silicone around the base of the toilet, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and put some silicone all the way around the bottom edge of this. And you want to make sure before you put your silicone down that this area is dry and clean, because the silicone won't stick if it's wet. And you don't want to get dirt in the white silicone as you put it down. I'll stop right there and we'll go around. So the hack I was talking about is with the silicone, if you have Windex or any kind of like just cleaner of any sort, if you spray this area down that you actually just put the silicone on, any place that the silicone is stuck to, the silicone will stay. Any place that gets wet, remember I told you that the silicone won't stick. So if you put just a light coating of cleaner over top of that, and then you put just a little bit on your finger, as you wipe that silicone out, it will not stick to any spot that is wet, and it makes a nice, smooth, clean silicone joint. And so I'll go ahead and go around the other side of the toilet. We'll do the same thing. There we go. We'll go ahead and spray a little bit of cleaner over top of it. Get a little bit on my finger here. We'll go ahead and wipe that out. And there's only one little spot right at the very front of the toilet here. You can see we got just a little dab there. We're going to go ahead and wipe that. Just like that. And now we got a nice clean silicone line all the way around. The silicone didn't stick to the porcelain. It didn't stick to the floor because I have that cleaner on there, so it won't stick to it. So now we're going to let that dry for 24 hours before we try and clean around it or do anything else around the base of the toilet. All right, so now that we have the toilet, we have it siliconed all the way around. We got a nice clean silicone line there. Now you can use the toilet. You just don't want to like clean around it and wipe that out or get any dirt in it for about 12 to 24 hours, whatever the silicone recommends. It's 12 hours for this for cure or for set and 24 hours to cure. So for at least 12 hours, you want to leave the base of that toilet alone. So we're going to go ahead and put our toilet tank lid back on the toilet. And then we just make sure that that toilet's still not wiggling around. We're good and solid. Now, one thing we didn't do, and the caps for this toilet, for the trim caps, are missing. So I got to find out what the homeowner did with them. And the Johnny bolts, normally you would go ahead and cut this bolt off right above the nut. You can use a hacksaw or a sawzall, whatever. Go ahead and cut those off. And then the caps will snap right on. I just got to find out what the homeowner did with the caps. After we do that, the toilet's good to go and ready to be used. Okay, so we went ahead and pulled the toilet. We got the flange repaired. We got it built up to where it's even with the top of the tile. We put new Johnny bolts on, new wax ring, rebolted the toilet down, reset the toilet, and made sure it was sealed by flushing it a bunch of times. We didn't have any water coming out. So we went ahead and sealed the bottom of the toilet. The only thing that we didn't do is we didn't get the Johnny bolt caps put on. The reason is the homeowner can't find them, so we'll do that at a later date if they end up finding them. Otherwise, the toilet is working the way that it's supposed to. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow. Remember, have a great day, and you got this. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Thanks.